Last What is up, everyone? Kevin Heather Tungate, giving it to you on this Sunday nights, April 30th. Yeah, last day of April. We're already 4 months into the year. Good Lord. What's up?
Your girl is sun-fried tonight. I sat at a baseball diamond all day watching my kid. I need a little bit of aloe over here.
Do you now?
Yeah.
Do you have someone to apply that?
No, unfortunately, I don't, because my husband's about to leave to go be the wonderful police officer that he is on third shift.
Props to the guys in blue. Absolutely. All right, since you played the husband card on me, I guess I'll keep it from talking about aloeing you up tonight. But here we are, Sunday night, our round of sports shots nights. Great show lined up. First guest, Heather, Justin Rowland, CatsIllustrated.com, KYRivals. This guy's, I would say it's pretty. We're pretty sure that this guy bleeds blue. I mean, you would think, right?
Yeah, of course he does. Yeah. Not only does he bleed blue, but I think he's fair, and he's not afraid to criticize either. So that's what makes him a good guest.
Makes him a good guest. That's what will make him a good guest. I think you've had the pleasure of already speaking with him on another show that you co-hosted, and we get to have him on our nonsense. Second segment, we've got the boys from Cats Talk Wednesday. Terry Brown and Vinny Hardy is going to join us. Second half of the show, where we actually do our round of shot topics, national trending topics. We'll throw those out to you and the guys and have some fun with that. But before we bring on Justin, I reached out to him this past week, and it was obviously spur of the moment, and I want to say I kind of was upfront with him. I said, we've got a potential guest. I'm waiting to hear back by a certain time, and if you can this Sunday, could you this Sunday if it's available? And he said yes, and he worked with us, and great, so he's good there. But I kind of have to call out, and I may be burning a bridge here, but I got to do it because there's a part of me that feels like the guest that we had scheduled that I showed you the tweet or the DM through Twitter. We had it kind of worked out. Then when I reached out to him this week, twice, no response. Then I asked you to reach out to him. I think you did twice as well, no response. So I felt like we kind of got blowed up. What was it? We just kind of got, I don't know. We just
Kevin, we were yesterday's hoes, apparently, right?
Exactly.
We were.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is why I appreciate guys like Justin, because not only is he knowledgeable about not only UK sports, but every other sport, but he's a good dude. He's a good player. So I'm glad Justin's joining us tonight at any rate.
And, maybe that guy who hosts the top, Kentucky sports radio show out there just didn't feel the need to give us the time. We'll see maybe down the road if that changes. I hate to think that anyone thinks that they're doing someone a favor by coming on their show. I don't. Maybe I'm talking too much, and I actually am. We'll move on. Tonight, Heather, WWE pay-per-view. You and I are wrestling fans. We all are about that sports entertainment. So Terry and Vinny, they have a song or a music intro for their show. And I thought, wait a minute, maybe we need to I need to give our guest tonight, Justin, an intro. So I kind of dug up the whole wrestling theme thing. And I know, Heather, you recognize this, Heather.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know if Justin will ask him, get him on, but this kind of gets the juices flowing. This is old school stuff for us. Justin, are you there? Are you?
I'm here,
alive
man.
And kicking?
I'm here. I honestly can't make out what the song is, but it sounds hype. It's got my blood going, and I'm ready to live up to it.
If you followed wrestling back in the 90s, mid 90s, WCW to be exact. There was this faction that was created called the NWO, and the NWO, that was their theme music. But I'm digressing a little bit here. But Justin, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Hey man, it's my pleasure. Thank you guys for asking me.
Justin, before we start the interrogation, give us your little bio, who you are, what you do, and how often you do it.
Well, I'm the publisher of Cats Illustrated, and I do it for 12 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, and my wife will roll her eyes but acknowledge that is 100% true. It takes up way too much of my time. Talk to Tom Leach on a weekly basis and do KSEV on a weekly basis and cover recruiting, Kentucky football, write about Kentucky basketball. I don't know how well I do any of it, but I do it a lot, and, even if I'm not that good, I'm good at flooding the zone and getting the impression that I know what I'm talking about. So hopefully I won't be too much of a bomb here on the show, but yeah, I'm glad to be here. This is the first 9 or 10 p.m. Sunday show that I've ever done, so this is new ground for me.
All right, we're on to something because I think Heather will agree. We're all about having good company on Sunday nights, and we do like talking, UK sports. She and I bleed blue, so. At the same time, too, I've heard nothing but good things about you, Justin. So you are just incredible. Just incredible.
That's probably overstating a little bit. Now, when you introduced me and asked if I bleed blue or not, honestly, I had to give up the fan card a while ago. But I can tell you, I grew up in North Carolina as the son of a man who went to college at the University of North Carolina with Michael Jordan. But I can tell you, I've never been a North Carolina fan. Wow. I grew up a Kentucky fan, and there's no explanation for that. My first memory of college sports was the Kentucky Duke game in '92. I fell in love with Kentucky then. When I got the job, I had to stop cheering for Kentucky, just in full disclosure, because once it becomes a job, it really is about your job and your livelihood, and you kind of get detached from the fanhood a little bit. Kentucky loses a game, and it's not like the world's ending. It's like, okay, what do I got to put on the site? But I still love following them.
Mm-hmm. You probably clap on the inside, right? Not so much the outside.
Well, I can't even say that. Honestly, I can't even say that. I mean, even if I did, I couldn't acknowledge it because I talked to recruits and I would qualify as a booster if I were to join the program in any fashion. So I'm not even allowed to wear Kentucky clothes, and I can't buy Kentucky tickets. I can't do anything like that. But I can tell you, I followed them for a very long time, and it was formerly a fan passion of mine turned job. So I think that'll people will trust me once they hear that.
Yeah, and I'm guessing if we hook Justin up to a lie detector, Heather, he would pass everything to say that he's on the, straight and narrow with, dealing with recruits and stuff. There's no bias there. Let's leave it at that. Right.
No, I think Justin's a straight shooter, and he's not going to steer anybody, anybody else any other way. So, I mean, if you read anything he says, whether it's on social media or even when he participates in podcasts, even ours, he's gonna say what he means and do it without bias.
Plus, his
don't have anything to add to that.
Right. His Twitter is a verified account. So that's, he's got that going for him too. So now check this out, Justin. This, since Thursday through, I guess the draft ended, yesterday? Today? Football draft, NFL draft. UK football whiffed on the draft. Not one player got their name called. Now, several did get to sign as free agents after the fact. But when you got guys who, this is me talking, Boom Williams, who jets after his junior year, with the expectation, I'm guessing pretty much anybody that would leave school early has this vision that they're going to get their name called. Not only did he didn't get his name called, John Toth, though I'm hearing that he's potentially dealing with an injury, and then some of the other UK players that were available. How big of a deal was it that no UK player got drafted?
I mean, it was a big deal. I'm not going to put too much stock into it. The ramifications would be for recruiting, and I can guarantee that every program that recruits against Kentucky is going to be in these kids' ears saying they didn't have anybody drafted. And that it's a thing because Vince Morrow, the recruiting coordinator, just tweeted a couple of hours ago he addressed it in direct terms. He said, I promise you, and what he meant to say is, I promise you that from now on we're going to have guys drafted when there's a draft. And so he's addressing it front and center, and I do think future drafts set up well for him. But yeah, it does not help recruiting. I don't think it's going to be devastating to him. And I think most people realize that their best draft talent is they're currently sophomores, going to be juniors this fall. But yeah, it hurts, no doubt.
But is it safe to say that this draft consisted of these were Stoops guys, right? Was Toth? Well, maybe Toth wasn't per se a Stoops guy, but Boom was. So how much reflection truly is it on the staff? And I know Vince Morrow came out with a tweet today and, tonight, whatever, and, made his proclamation for the future. But, I guess that's where I'm getting is that from a recruiting standpoint, is this a red mark on Stoops and his staff?
I don't think so. 1 year is a pretty small sample size. People would be saying it would have been a great draft if they had like 3 guys taken over however many days there were in the draft. So you're talking about 1 year sample size. You're talking about the difference in 0, 1, 2, 3 potential guys drafted. It's a really small sample size. So I don't think you can make a conclusion about it. If Boone stays another year, could he have been drafted? Toth could have easily been drafted. If Toth were like a fifth round pick, which he could have been, 6th round pick could have been. It's not Stoops' fault that teams decided that Toth was who he was, and they just decided to take the undrafted free agent route. So it's not too much of a negative reflection on them. If it happens again next year, then it will be. And if it happens the year after that, then it will be a huge problem. But yeah, 1 year I wouldn't put too much into.
Okay.
Yeah. So Justin, speaking of, guys that have came out this year, especially Boone Williams. So obviously he signed a free agent deal, undrafted free agent deal with the Bengals. This is a roster I actually think he has a good chance to make because Gio Bernard is hurt. You have Jeremy Hill, obviously, next in as well. But, the Bengals need a guy that can kind of be your pound for pound type of guy. Do you think Boone Williams makes this roster?
My first reaction was no, but the more I thought about it, the more I've kind of come around to your line of thinking. I think it could be a good situation for him. Gio is not in an ideal spot right now, but I'll say this. I think Boone still has his work cut out for him, but this doesn't mean that his only chance is Cincinnati. If he has a good preseason, if he has a good camp, if he shows up in shape, his testing really didn't help him. But if he can prove himself to be a good return man, catch passes, be a good third down situation back, then I think he can land somewhere. But I'm not convinced that he will. I think it's possible, but I'm not convinced one way or another.
Yeah, well, and it's the same thing. Like, even people talked about the limitability, believe it or not, with John Toth, right? That he strictly plays center. You can't move him to a guard position. And this is just when you have guys, and I don't fault Stoops for this at all. When you have guys that specialize in a certain area or a certain position, it's kind of hard if you don't have that versatility when you move to the next level. So with that said, I know we talked about, this hurting possibly, the development of the staff. I think this next year, maybe year or two down the road for Stoops is really what's going to be the tell-all as far as developing next level talent for, between Kentucky football and then possibility in the NFL.
I think you're right. Most of the guys drafted this year were 2012, 2013 guys. And Stoops' first full class was 2013. Stoops was only responsible for landing half of the commitments in the 2012 class. And he only had 2 months to recruit half of those commitments. Now, we know that 2013 class, there was a lot of attrition. And there's a lot of attrition. The 2012 and the 2013 class is really a lot of attrition. The classes ranked higher than most other Kentucky classes in the modern era. But I think, you look at the guys that they had as sophomores this year. Mike Edwards is going to be drafted. Jordan Jones is going to be drafted. Benny Snell is going to be drafted. They've got a couple of receivers that have a chance to be drafted. C.J. Conrad is going to be drafted. Derek Beatty and Chris Weststreet have the kind of size and skill set that NFL teams are looking for, and as much a premium as defensive backs are. They're going to be sending guys to the league. So I think you just have to look down the line a little bit, and that's when it's going to matriculate.
Good point. When it comes to staying with football recruiting, Justin, one of the things that the reality with the football program is that although Stoops and staff are getting great players by UK standards, we are we're having that now issue / concern of losing some of these top commitments. Kentucky steps in and makes that huge impression from the get-go, and weakness from these guys. And then, problem is that those guys continue to play and develop and get scouted even more by the folks like Justin Rowland and people who start, promoting or, talking about these recruits. And then you got the big boys, Bama, LSU, the big time schools, upper tier schools, who come in and make that offer and just change everything. How, if there's any way possible, how can Stoops and staff fight that, offset that?
Well, I think they've got to lean heavily on Kentucky guys and Ohio guys. If you look at the best recruits that they've gotten, they are in-state guys and they're Ohio guys. Landon Young, 5-star, Drake Jackson, 4-star, Cash Daniel, highly touted guy. Jason Hatcher was a highly touted guy before his whole ordeal. Lynn Bowden, Javante Richardson. These are local guys who are going to visit a lot of times, and frankly, Vince Morrow is their best recruiter. He's going to be involved with those guys. He's the one who landed Josh Paschal, big-time guy from the Maryland, D.C. area. So you got local guys that visit a lot, recruited by Morrow, and frankly, there aren't as many big-time SEC programs poaching around in Ohio as there are down in Florida. It's just harder to keep guys from the South, from Florida and Georgia. And another factor is those guys in the South have grown up watching a Kentucky program, frankly, get beat up on by SEC foes, by SEC rivals. And it's just a lot harder to keep those guys. I'm not downing any of the commitments that they've got from Florida or from Georgia, but I think they have to be careful. They've gotten a lot of Florida commitments the last cycle and this cycle. I think they have to be careful of two things. Number one, reaching on some guys. I know a lot of people are really excited about Florida recruiting right now, but those guys, frankly, are not the kind of alpha dogs or ballers, whatever you want to call them, that Lynn Bowden, Javante Richardson, Blue Smith, potentially in this next class, not quite the same caliber kid, number one. And number two of their Florida commitments for 2018 haven't even visited yet. Darius Gaskin and Marvin Alexander have not visited. So immediately I'm like, we don't know how that's going to fit. I've just watched a lot of teams in Kentucky situation, NC State under Chuck Amato, West Virginia recently, who take a bunch of Florida commitments who are like 3-star level kids and who haven't visited, and either they don't pan out or it's hard to keep them. And that's why I think they got to lean heavily on Kentucky and Ohio more than anything else.
Yeah, Justin, you brought up, recruiting in Ohio. So I live on the east side of Cincinnati. Obviously in Cincinnati, we have the GCL. At one point, the GCL had 14 active players in the NFL. We are one of the best, and I think we are one of the best areas as far as high school football and college football, as far as like the talent wise, right? I felt like for years, Kentucky failed to recruit just an hour and 20 minutes up 75, right? I think if Stoops and company consistently still, want to reach up in this area, they're going to get the talent. But what I wanted to ask you was, there's a lot to be made about, obviously you see how the recruiting changed with Coach Fickle is now the coach there. Tuberville has left. Do you think the coaching change that you see will kind of curb this talent in the Cincinnati area to stay home versus maybe go a little bit south of Kentucky?
Well, there was a lot of talk about that when Fickle was hired, and I'm not going to downplay the staff that he's put together. They put together a very good recruiting staff, especially in Ohio. And you think about Joker, you think about Al Washington, who's at Boston College. They got a lot of good recruiters, and their first priority, like any staff, is going to be keep talent close to home. I will say this. It's a group of 5 school. I think the people that I've spoken with close to Kentucky is once players see the schedule that Cincinnati plays and the lack of spotlight marquee games during the regular season, that's going to kind of curb it a little bit. Houston started recruiting extremely well, and that's kind of a similar situation, but that's an outlier. Houston recruited better than any non-power conference team, and I think it's a stretch to think Cincinnati would do that. Houston's got a much bigger talent base as well. The other factor is if you look at Kentucky's Ohio commitments, Cincinnati really is not where they've done their killing. I mean, Mike Edwards is from Cincinnati, but they've mostly gotten commitments from like Dayton, Akron, Toledo, Youngstown, Columbus, a little bit outside of that. So Cincinnati has not been their bread and butter. I think, frankly, Kentucky has improved their standing in Cincinnati by bringing on Eddie Grand, Darren Henshaw, and Stephen Clinkscale, three guys with a history at Cincinnati. So I don't see Cincinnati as a huge threat that some people do. Josh Weil, a tight end, Kentucky wanted Weil to be their second tight end with Brendan Bates in this class, and Cincinnati did get Josh Weil, but he's the only one who's picked Cincinnati over Kentucky so far. So I would tap the brakes on major concern over them at this point.
Justin, there's talk, if I've read or heard this right, of an early signing period now. Did I for football? If they go that way, how much of that could help Kentucky?
I mean, I think no doubt there's a reason that Mark Stoops supports that, and there's a reason that coaches not named Nick Saban and Urban Meyer support that, because the poaching, the poaching is just a fact. Now, I would say this. I mean, last year, 2 proposed early signing periods were floated. One was like the JUCO signing date, which is basically 2 months before signing day now, so December. And the other was over the summer. And the summer one, I don't think the summer one is going to pass. I think we're going to be in kind of like the halfway house where they get the early signing period. The D1 council passed it. The conference commissioners have to approve it a little bit later, I think this summer, maybe in June or July. I don't think the impact is going to be huge if it just moved up 2 months. Now, if it were a summer early signing period, then that would be huge. But I think that's a down the road thing. I don't think they're going to jump to that right off the bat. But yeah, I mean, no doubt it would help. When you just look at the decommitments that they've had over the past 3 years, there are a lot of guys that they would have had, But I will say this as well. There are going to be ramifications of the early signing period. I'm not in favor of the early signing period. That's not coming from a UK perspective. UK wants the early signing period. Right. If you have an early signing period, it's gonna make recruiting harder, because guys are going to be less likely to commit early if they know that Kentucky is going to pressure them to sign early. Okay. It's going to make recruiting harder and harder to get commitments where guys are going to want to wait for Alabama until November. So it's a double-edged sword.
Case in point, Heather, Justin, as we switch gears to basketball, when it comes to these elite basketball guys, who signs early anymore? I mean, they all kind of wait for, to see who stays, who goes. And in Kentucky's case, Justin, UK losing 8 of its top 9 scorers, and the recent with Hamidou, what's his last name?
Diallo.
Diallo.
Hamidou Diallo.
Declaring, I mean, with what Cal's going to have to or the realistic expectations now. What are the realistic expectations, Justin, for this 2017-18 season with this influx of new talent players?
I'm going to warn you, I'm not a sunshine pumper. I'm very, very fair to Kentucky. I think people would vouch for me on that, but I'm not a sunshine pumper. I'm not somebody who gets overly enthusiastic in advance. I'm typically pretty conservative in my predictions. I think, you got guys on the board. Kevin Knox looks like he's in the deep. Bamba looks like Kentucky or Texas. Cam Johnson had a good visit to Kentucky, but visited Arizona, is going to visit Ohio State, I want to say. And then there's somebody else on Diallo. You're waiting on Diallo. I think between Diallo, Knox, Cam Johnson, and Bamba, in order for Kentucky to be a serious championship contender, they really need 2 out of those 4 guys. So either Diallo come back and you get one more, or you get Johnson and you get one more. And I really think one of them needs to be Bamba, because if you go in the next season without Bamba, that front line is not especially imposing. I mean, you got Winley coming back, you got Gabriel, you got Claire Jones, and they can be good players. We just don't know what they're going to give you. And those are fours. You're still not a rim protector without Bamba. I think if you add Bamba and one more, then it's enough talent that they're going to take their lumps early, but they can mount a championship run. But I think if you don't get Bamba and one more, then I think there is a clear ceiling on this next year's team, and I think that they would probably struggle a little bit in the regular season. I'm not saying they'd be in the NIT, but I wouldn't put them as a top 15 team preseason unless they add 2 more guys.
Yeah, there's some serious concerns, and as much as I love our Cats, Calipari, he can't continue the playing that card of, but it's a whole new team. That's the way it is every year. So stop saying that. But now more than ever, this is a whole freaking new team, a new probably 10.
Right, and if you go through any season Calipari has had at Kentucky, I think this is going to be his toughest challenge. Yes. So to speak. So, I mean, not only did he lose his top, 7, 8, 9 forwards, but he's bringing in, and we don't know the pieces yet, the complete pieces anyway. He's bringing in a bunch of young talent. It will be interesting to see. I think this is, if anybody or any critics of Calipari, in this one and done rule, which by the way isn't his fault, but I digress. So I think if anybody wants to criticize Calipari, this might be the year, I guess, because I think by far this is going to be his most inexperienced team. Not saying it's not, this isn't going to be his less talented team. It's just going to be his most inexperienced team. And I think this is the year that you're going to really finally see when it comes to X's and O's if Calipari is is a good coach.
Yeah. He's starting from scratch here, Justin, because I don't know if really there's no returning guy that's going to really lend any type of either playing time and or knowledge to these new kids. So this is going to be, this is on Cal this year. But there's probably a reason why he makes the money he makes each year, and in this role that he relishes. So spotlight, man, is going to be big time on him this year.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse with the doomsday predictions, because I mean, if he gets Diallo back and then he lands Cam Johnson and Bamba, I mean, that's a top 5 team, and they might lose a lot in the regular season, but that's still a national championship contender. But let's say worst case scenario, you're talking about a team with next to no experience, next to no veteran season, tough proven leadership going into a season. Not only that, but the incoming freshmen in this class, there's not a top 10 player. I mean, you don't have a transcendent talent that's coming in. I mean, you've got a lot of guys who should be good multi-year college basketball players. You never know about that. Jared Vanderbilt, it seems like his stock is rising. But you couple, they don't have Bamba right now. You couple a lack of returning experience with shooting questions and a lack of transcendent talent coming in and the lack of a rim protector, it could be ugly at times. Now, they're going to be long, they're going to be fast, they're going to be athletic, and they're going to be deep. So that's going to cause some teams to wilt. But I think for the second straight year, you're going to see a really fast Kentucky team. Before this year, Calipari's teams played at a slow pace. I think you're going to see a fast pace again next year.
Good point. If Diallo's projection is the second round, that should get him to return. I guess. Yeah. Is that your thinking?
Yeah, you would think so. Our guy TJ Walker, who covers basketball recruiting for us, said that he was hearing that Diallo doesn't necessarily need a first round assurance in order to go. I mean, the guy got invited to the combine. He's going to the combine. We know that guys that get invited to the combine, they do a really good job of inviting the guys that are going to ultimately go for the most part. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he has to be a first-round lock in order for him to go. I wouldn't be surprised if he does go. I think it's 50-50.
All right. As asking for the hometown kid here in Louisville / Mount Washington, does Derek Willis have a shot at the next level?
I don't think so. I mean, if he's played professionally somewhere, but he's not. He's not going to be an NBA player. Yeah. No, not an NBA player.
All right. Last basketball tidbit. Calipari's 30 for 30. First of all, your take. Did you get to see it, Justin? Were you able to watch it?
Yeah. I mean, I thought without question, I thought it was favorable. I thought it was a pro Calipari production. I thought they, I thought they covered the negatives that they needed to cover for it to be objective, but they came out. It came out with a very positive perception of him.
Did it do anything to hurt recruiting?
No.
Oh, no. I think if anything, it helped. I mean, I was searching Calipari's name on Twitter during the 30 for 30, and like 90% of the young people on Twitter across the country were saying, I love Coach Calipari. Mm-hmm. Like 90% of the people who have like Twitter pictures of athletes from the 70s were like, I hate Calipari, but it's not going to hurt recruiting. I mean, young people love Calipari, and I think the documentary helped them with it.
Yeah, probably the guys that Heather, probably the people who hate Calipari. A lot of those old school guys still have visions of Bird and Magic in those short shorts, that kind of thing. So.
Or it's Jim Calhoun because Calipari didn't know what clam chowder was, right? Or it's Pitino because he can't recruit against them. But what's interesting about that 30 for 30 is that, even my husband, and there's a faction of the Kentucky fan base that thinks Calipari is not a good X's and O's guy. It made people like my husband and, a guy that one of my coworkers that think that, but I understand his philosophy and I understand why he thinks this is going to be the way to be successful. And I understand why he's doing this for Kentucky basketball. And if you can turn those naysayers, at least on the outlier, to be in his favor, I mean, at this point, how do you criticize him and what he's done? And which, by the way, I don't think he's a bad X's and O's guy. I just think that he, it's really, really hard to consistently turn, a roster to be successful year in and year out like he has, especially because he has to start young. But at the end of the day, I mean, again, Calipari, his primary job is to recruit the best players out of high school, which he consistently does. He's won a national championship. And if you go on paper, he puts us in contention year in and year out. I don't see any other coach doing that in Division I.
You're also missing, Heather. You mentioned Cal's jobs. Besides recruiting the best, putting us in position to win championship, you forgot that he gets the brand of what UK basketball is, and he markets it as well. And the best thing about Calipari is that if Kentucky basketball is not mentioned on ESPN within a 72-hour window, you got a great soundbite coming from Calipari to get it back, get the brand back.
By the way, Kevin, why do you think all these coaches, all these people who were critical of the 30 for 30 and what Cal did, you know why? Because they were jealous. Because it was essentially a recruiting pitch for Kentucky. And not only was it a recruiting pitch for Kentucky, but it kind of highlighted the fact that Calipari knows what he's doing and that all these other coaches on the D1 level have a long way to go. Just my opinion.
That's a good point. Let me ask you that, Justin. With all the recruiting tidbits and info that you put out there, do non-Kentucky affiliated coaches have a legitimate beef with ESPN or probably ESPN in this case, that in this case the 30 for 30, which that's you can argue that's a show for a per se coach, or that could be anybody. But the fact that Kentucky does get their fair share of time on ESPN. How many college schools have their practices, live with, ESPN analysts, not just the A analysts, Seth Greenberg, all of them on location for these events. Does Kentucky, do the other coaches have a legitimate beef about the playing field, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they do, but when has any sport ever had a level playing field? I mean, the closest thing is the NFL, but the NBA is basically, you got to have one of the top 2 or 3 superstars to win a championship. Major League Baseball, the team that spends the most doesn't always win the World Series, but you can spend your way into, a really nice run. College football, look at the platform that Nick Saban has, that Jim Harbaugh now has, the way that he manipulates or steers the media. I mean, this is just something that they have to contend with. I will say this. I don't think, and this might be controversial, I don't think there is as much antagonism towards Kentucky now as a lot of Kentucky fans feel like there is. I think when Calipari first arrived, there was a huge wave of negativity. And that first class with Wall and Cousins, people looked at it and they said, this is going to be a shady program. But I really think Calipari has become mainstream. I think he hasn't been as brash. He's been more humble. I think I don't sense the hatred that a lot of Kentucky fans, they're not Duke. People don't hate Kentucky as much as they hate Duke. They just don't. Right. And it's not a level playing field, but I don't think it's any worse than it is in any other sport with the top programs. You're gonna put the top coaches, the top programs, the most successful, the most attractive, the best TV names on TV, and that's just something that the other ones have to deal with.
Fair point. Good point. All right, just before we let you go, this is a little thing we do called a round of shots, where I throw 6 questions at you. It's kind of a quick Q&A to kind of get to know you a little better.
Sure.
Have fun with it. First one, first concert you attended.
Journey and Def Leppard. Journey and Def Leppard were on tour. Yeah, I went twice in 6 weeks. I went in Pittsburgh, and then I went back home to North Carolina at the time, and I went with my buddy in North Carolina. I think somebody might have died behind me from an overdose. I'm not joking about it. I think they might have.
Good
but
Lord.
Journey and Def Leppard. Yep.
Def Leppard was here this past week with, they were the headline, but they had Tesla and Poison opening up for them. So that was like, going back to the hair days. Good one. The number 2, if you're stuck in an elevator, Justin, what celebrity would you like to be hanging out with for that 4-hour window?
Full hour window. I'm going to say Jay Billis, just because I had a pretty testy back and forth Twitter exchange with him, and I have much better in-person etiquette than social media etiquette. I think I could make a better impression on him in person than on social media.
Gotcha. All right, number 3, favorite movie.
Man, you guys are just throwing heat here. Is it favorite movie? That is really, really tough.
Did you expect softball questions on the show, or what's going on?
Man, I like psychological thrillers. I like horror movies. I'm going to go on the fringe here. I like The Strangers as a horror movie because it's kind of like the psychological torture thing. I don't like the supernatural stuff. I like the horror movies where somebody escapes from a penitentiary or like a psycho ward and they just stare through your window. Like, that's going to make me sound really weird, but that could happen to anybody, and that's why it's terrifying.
Not at all.
So. Yeah.
Heather, are your blinds open or shut right now?
They are shut completely.
All right. You're a buzzkill for Justin there.
Whew, good Lord. Hey, so Justin, media member that you would like to do without?
Ooh.
Oh man, do I really have to go there? Oh.
Yes, it's amongst friends.
Kyle Tucker just blocked me on Twitter, but I don't have any problem with Kyle Tucker. I don't have any problem with him, but he just blocked me. If media member that I could do without, Skip Bayless. That's an easy one that won't alienate anybody. I'll say Skip Bayless.
Yeah. Cool. All right, that's was number 4. Number 5. What's your favorite phone app? Now, keep in mind the wife might be listening, so.
This is my fantasy, and I'm going to keep it PG, my fantasy baseball app. I've got a fantasy baseball app that I stay glued to because I am a religious fantasy baseball player.
Jeez. Heather, I've tried my best to get a TMZ soundbite from this guy, and he is not biting. I know.
I'm last, aren't I?
Since you're you know what, Justin, honestly, since you're a big baseball fan, the Reds started out kind of hot. They've cooled off a little bit. Where do you see them ending the season?
They're going to tank. I mean, they're going to tank. The Reds are bad. It's bad news. No offense. I know a lot of your listeners are probably going to be upset at me for saying that. I think they'll probably lose 90, 95 games. But in full disclosure, I'm a Cards fan. I'm a big St. Louis Cardinals fan, so that's my card arrogance.
And they're not doing very well either.
They're not. Yeah. But we've won 11 world championships, so we can always fall back on that.
Yeah, whatever.
He plays the butt card. He plays the butt card. The butt card. All right, last round of shot question for you, Justin. Tell us your best tweet of the week. Justin's best tweet of the week. From you.
The best tweet from me? Okay.
Yeah.
In my back and forth with Jay Billis. He was arguing in circles over this UNC case. and he's trying to let UNC skate on a technicality. And I just ended I found out that this guy likes to argue more than me. And once I stopped being starstruck that I was arguing with Jay Billis, I finally said, you know what? Fine, at least you've convinced. I said, fine, at least you've convinced yourself. You and the UNC legal team can enjoy that limb that you're hanging out on. And Jay got extremely upset. He got extremely upset at me and told me it was wholly inappropriate. And then I told him to grow some skin. So that would make the elevator ride really awkward.
I'm over here applauding here. I'm applauding.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Here's your TMZ soundbite.
There, finally got way to end this segment. Justin, is great to hang out with you. For the record, you got carte blanche to come with us hang out with us on a Sunday night whenever you want. Before you go, share with us all your social media so people can look through your blinds, if you will.
You just do KYRivals on Twitter. I don't do anything like Snapchat or Instagram or anything like that. I'm 31 years old, but I've made a pledge to never do any social media beyond Twitter. This is where I'm staying forever. And so KYRivals on Twitter is where it's happening. It's where the magic happens.
Kevin, cool. Kevin, he's a baby. He said he's 31.
He is a baby. 31. Good God. Hey.
All
right, son, you've done your part for tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for bringing a baby on. I appreciate that, guys.
Yeah. Hey, we'll connect soon. Continue your journey and success, and we'll stay in touch. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Justin.
Justin Rowland, rolling, keep rolling. Good segment, Heather. Man,
I love Justin. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Speaking of good guys, we've got a couple, and we decided tonight we would go to help us get through our round of shots, trending national topics. We'd reach out to the brothers from another mother who are co-hosts of Cats Talk Wednesday. But before I bring them on, let me give them the proper introduction, Heather. That finger, Heather. Got it. Turning their mics on, Terry Brown, Vinny Hardy, Cats Talk Wednesday, starting with Terry, who's in the bill with me. Terry, what's up, my brother?
Nothing much, man. That is our theme song. That is Malice and Mario Sweet. They are from the Seattle area, and they have let us use a lot of their music on the show, and it is fantastic. It's that jazzy kind of, as Vinny likes to say, it's kind of a grown folks music feel. So that is fantastic.
And, I did my homework. I reached out to Vinny. I'm like, Vinny, what's your show theme? I got to do it right. Vinny, what's up, man?
Hey, man, it feels like hump day already. Monday and Tuesday have already come and gone. It feels like Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's just it, guys. We want you to feel like you're at home on this show. We have, you're part of the Cameron Mills Network Radio. Cameron's been on our show several times. Michelle Brown, Kristen, they've been on a lot. So it's, Heather and I talked, it made sense to, keep this whole family vibe going. So here you guys are.
We appreciate that, man. We got to return the favor for you guys. I said that to you the other day because you had me on a long time ago back in the day, and I definitely got to get you back on, man.
Oh, it's all good. Besides, say you guys are, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are doing what, one show a week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with me, like tonight is my sports night with Heather. Love my Heather. We get to do sports, but I also do, Terry, you've been on my Monday night show where it's an eclectic mix of topics. And then Tuesday night, I dedicate a show to local music here in the Louisville area. So, I'm doing 3 shows a week. So, when it does come to, we'll put it this way, Heather, I had got an invite from our friend Daryl Faust to come on their show Friday. I guess they were recording Friday for Saturday. And I had to decline. I didn't have the time to do it. But such is life. But that's when I will totally defer. Heather, if she can do the shows, but I got to get on my brother's show. I got to do that. That would be cool.
Absolutely. And I'm enjoying being here. Cool to be on the airways with you, Heather. I think that's a first. So we're knocking down all kind of, checklist stuff.
Bucket list stuff tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Vinny, the 423 area code, which 423 actually happens to be my favorite numbers because I use 423 as all of my tag. It's my birthday, April 23rd. So 423 is me. So where's 423? Where you calling from?
I live in the town is called Morristown, Tennessee. Nobody knows where that's at. It's right in the middle. Same distance to Knoxville as it is to the Kingsport, Johnson City, Bristol, Tri-City area. Nothing orange about me, of course, but that's where I'm at. I'm about 35 minutes from Knoxville, 40 minutes or so to Kingsport, Johnson City. So that's where I am.
Cool.
Sevierville, Pigeon Forge. I can be over there real quick too.
Yeah. Is that also my employer has a site. Is that kind of near Clarksville, maybe too? Is 423 Clarksville?
No, I think they're probably 615 or something. Clarksville's close to Nashville. Nashville's about 3 hours away. I'm in Northeast Tennessee, and that's more Central Tennessee.
Okay.
All right, that's our geographic lesson of the night. Time to move back to sports. Yeah. We got the guys on Heather. Yeah, we got the guys on Heather to join us for our round of shots, national trending or local/national trending sports topics. I've got several topics. I sent you guys the list. I'm just going to kind of go through them and let's talk about them. The NFL draft was this past week. A couple of things that stood out. SEC had a record 12 first-round picks. It's a record, but in theory, I'm not really surprised. But the Big 12 also had a embarrassing week or a bit embarrassing draft, as their numbers were low compared to some of the other big-time conferences. And then, as we talked with Justin Rowland on the first segment, our Kentucky Wildcats whiffed during the NFL draft. I'm going to start with let's start with Terry. Terry, your take on the NFL draft, and then Vinny jump in and go.
Well, I'm not going to speak for Vinny, but we're not big draft or recruiting guys. I was kind of in and out of the draft this year. But as far as Kentucky whiffing, I was a little surprised by Toth, and I think I saw something tweeted today that maybe he was not 100%, I think. So I'm not too sure about that. I thought Boom was going to be a long shot to get drafted, but I saw this across the Twitter.com that as well as Kentucky did, and getting to a bowl game pretty well, is a good season for us. And not having anybody drafted was a pretty good coaching job by Mark Stoops. So as far as like the Big 12, outside of, I'm trying to think of some Big 12 teams that really wow you. I'm not surprised they haven't performed that well. When Texas isn't Texas, the Big 12 is almost a forgotten about kind of thing. So I'm not surprised about that. The SEC is going to SEC. Alabama's going to do their thing. A lot of the SEC heavy hitters are still going to produce talent. So I'm not surprised about that. I think the biggest surprise was the Toth. Whether or not he's 100%, I don't confirm all those reports, but I was a little surprised that he did not go, just because he was fantastic all year for a really solid offensive line.
Yeah, and especially in a tough conference, it's interesting because if you read the scouting report on Terry, everybody said that, he's good at center, but, he wasn't quick enough or his footwork wasn't good enough to be, a guard on either side, so on and so forth. But, what's interesting about Boom, and this is where, everybody was surprised about Toth. Boom obviously signed a free agent undrafted deal with the Bengals. He has a good shot to make that team, and here's why. Joe Bernard is hurt, and I'm not sure when he's going to come back. You have Jeremy Hill, who has been inconsistent. Obviously, they drafted Joe Mixon. Cedric Pierman is very limited. Pierman, you have a guy that can block well, but he can't do much other than that. Bill Williams can run the ball. So, if I'm looking at the two Kentucky guys that could potentially make an NFL roster, I think Ben Williams has the better chance or the better shot anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how much the draft you want to talk about the Mixon situation. I've got some thoughts on that.
So do I, my friend. So do I.
Just real quick, and Vinny, I know you're here. Vinny will tell you I get on my little rants every now and then. But the Joe Mixon thing, it was almost like any other franchise except for Cincinnati could get away with it. Just from a PR, from a they've already got a couple of knuckleheads on the team, and I'm not trying to pile on Cincinnati, but it's like the Portland Trailblazers of a few years ago. It's like you can have one or two bad apples, maybe one or two kind of questionable guys, but you can't have like 4 or 5 if you're an NBA team, and you can't have like 5 or 6 if you're an NFL team. Like that doesn't work. You can't have that kind of situation. So I was a little shocked that the Bengals pulled the trigger on that just for the optics of people saying, "Oh my goodness, the Bengals are going to bingle."
Heather, do you want to go on it? Heather, you want to go on and get it out of your system now?
Yeah. All right. I'm ready. I'm like cracking my neck over here. So here's the deal. There is no debate whatsoever that Joe Mixon he honestly was a first-round talent draft pick. Clearly, everybody knows that. And it's interesting because the last 48 hours since he was drafted by the Bengals in the second round, I've seen everything from why did the Bengals draft him to, the girl started it. Terry, you have a daughter, right?
Yep,
I have 2.
I've got 2.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the thing is that it's not even just who started what. By the way, which, if you go back and watch the video, neither party was in the right, and that's clear. But here's my problem, and this it's not outrage, so to speak. The Bengals have a history of taking people who have not only had off the field issues, but on the field issues, and there is a lack of discipline on this team. It was clear with, off the field and on the field, we're talking Adam Jones, which, by the way, for folks that want to criticize Bengals fans for, now you're done with Joe Mixon. No, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. A lot of people were done with Pac-Man Jones, who spit in an intake nurse's face, which is in Ohio, an assault charge. But apparently our prosecutor, our Hamilton County prosecutor didn't see it that way, but whatever. Again, you have a franchise that consistently takes guys that cannot not only control themselves off the field, but they have a hard time doing it on the field. And and the only guy, believe it or not, Jeremy Hill, who has, who has, especially on the field, he's obviously had a big fumble against the Steelers a couple years ago or seasons ago in a playoff game, but off the field he's been fine. But it's kind of getting to the point, at least, that I expected at least Richie Incognito to show up on the Bengals roster, because at the end of the day, the Bengals, honestly, they consistently take these players who have questionable characteristics. It doesn't matter where you came from, and they cannot make them any better. And you take a guy who punched a girl in the face, put her on your team, and by the way, that's not his only kind of off-the-field issue. And I keep hearing this whole thing that, that's his only, he was 18 years old, it was 3 years ago, this was no, it wasn't his only issue. There's been other stuff that's happened, but the Bengals have consistently showed that they cannot handle the guys with questionable characteristics. It doesn't matter where you came from. And that's what I have a problem with. Not only is it a distraction on the field, it's a distraction off the field. And it keeps you from being productive, period. And that's what's so frustrating as a Bengals fan.
It sounded like you were beating around the bush there, Heather. Could you tell us what you really think? I'm joking. Joking. The Bengals, to me, did a bungle kind of thing there. I'm honestly, I'm not a fan of the Bengals. So Heather, your words speak way more than me. But there's clearly been issues with the personnel, and this move just didn't seem to be the right for the because this is a guy that's it's your first pick in the draft, right? That was your first pick, the Bengals' first pick, correct? Hello. Am I not?
I think he was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right. So usually with your first pick, the first pick kind of gets shoved in front of the media right away. And what's the media going to do? They're going to do what the media normally does. They're going to bring up the past, and I mean, it's kind of from a PR perspective. I don't know, but more power to them.
You still got Pac-Man acting a fool. A couple other guys, like Terry said, have been, got some checkered past, and had some problems there at Jeremy Hill. And so that's kind of why when I saw the Bengals get him, it didn't surprise me. It used to be, Terry mentioned the Jail Blazers in Portland. It used to be the Raiders got all these guys. All the bad boys went to the Raiders, back in the 80s, and it was just pretty much a given that if you had some issues, you were going to go out to L.A. or Oakland, wherever they were. Now Cincinnati is kind of the new Oakland. So it didn't surprise me at all. Marvin Lewis saying they did their research and all that. We talked to Oklahoma, blah, blah, blah. But to see him end up in Cincinnati, he just knew they were going to get him. I mean, if I was a Bengals fan, I would already be bracing for it. And they didn't disappoint.
Yeah, our guy Josh, who is JaxTeller_KY on Twitter, confirmed or clarified for us he was a second-round pick, and his other quote, where the quote is "everyone gets a second chance," unquote. That actually means we can get this guy on the cheap. So yes, Josh, you're right. Score. He's up for keeping score. All right. Let's go on next shot topic. Let's talk about our, when I say our, because we're all kind of UK people here, our rival school down the road from Lexington, which actually happens to be in mine and Terry's hometown, University of Louisville Cardinals. Tom Jurich, the AD, had a interesting. He's actually had an interesting kind of last couple of weeks because he he did get called out by Papa John himself about kind of, in a sense, the lack of leadership, if you will. But Jurich made this proclamation recently, this past week, how much of and I'm quoting here, "we're an easy target for everybody," unquote. And when I saw that, I was like, WTF? I'm like, did he really just say that? And I'm thinking, wait a minute. All right. And this is because our show, I don't know how you guys talk on your all show, Terry, Vinny, but we are I'd like to say, unlike Heather, I'm very liberal. So I'm very open-minded and free-spirited here. But when I heard that, I did laugh. And I'm thinking, are you fucking kidding me? Because yes, the football program is successful. You got a Heisman Trophy winner. You got a great football program on the field, product on the field. You got a great basketball product on the court. But you also have baggage with your football coach. You have a scandal still lingering over your basketball program. You got a coach who, has his transgressions with people, with women outside of his marriage. Why wouldn't your program be an easy target for everybody? Terry, you jump in first since you're feeling it here in the Ville with me.
Well, we've covered this on our show, and Vinny kind of knows my thoughts. But here's the thing: this isn't just an athletic issue at U of L. The academic side, with recently stepped down, I think they had let him kind of resign, retire, whatever. Dr. Ramsey was kind of running it was a scheme. I mean, I don't know how to say it. Folk getting paid extra and above and beyond, and then it comes out that he paid Jurich an extra $8 million on top of what he was already earning in a very backdoor, backhanded kind of way, and their justification was Jurich is doing a good job. Well, I don't think anyone will say that the Jurich hasn't moved Louisville athletics from where he took over in 1997 to now. It is. I mean, you're saying Heisman Trophy winner. They've been to, Final Fours on men's and women's side. They've been very competitive in baseball. They had some Olympic swimmers. So it's been fantastic. But there is a lot of things that go on there that is just unseemly. And, a couple of weeks ago, for whatever reason, the T-shirt fiasco, I don't know if you guys remember that. Jared Lorenzen has his T-shirt company, but it had the shirt that said "Build a Wall Around Louisville," which I had seen in the fall, but evidently somebody at the Courier-Journal here in town discovered, and it became an issue. And we all know about, going after the official Higgins after the North Carolina game. And I had a tweet pretty much that said, okay, Kentucky fans, we're supposed to denounce these T-shirts, denounce, those ridiculous fans. And I got some back and forth with Louisville fans, and I'm like, look, everything that we're supposed to be answerable for, it's a T-shirt, it is some ridiculous fans. All of Louisville's transgressions are committed by the people that are in charge.
Yes.
When you talk about the escort scandal, that was somebody on the coaching staff that initiated it, not a fan, not a random person making a T-shirt. That's the difference. Is everything that they think that they're being unfairly targeted for. You bring Bobby Petrino back, you're going to get that. Patino with 2 sex scandals. I mean, what other coaches in the country survived that? That's what people are pointing out to. And when Papa John says, hey, wait a minute, something's going – and Papa John is a smart guy. The Louisville folks and fanboys try to say he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm like, he's got his name on the football stadium. He knows, okay? He knows what's going on. He's not stupid. I saw somebody tweet out, well, he just doesn't know how the Louisville finances work. And I'm like, he's a billionaire that started his own Fortune 500 company. He knows what he's looking at.
I can vouch for him. I worked at the Papa John's corporate office for about 8 years. I know where that guy comes from. And I tell you what, for him to come out and say that in a board meeting, and, obviously he has since resigned, which I don't, there's either he.
Oh, wait, hold on. He didn't resign. He was forced to resign.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
I don't care what anybody says.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, guys.
Well, I'm just saying, and so there's this thing that Jurich is untouchable, and Papa John's played it well. He made that statement at the one board meeting saying Jurich was invisible to people that should be overseeing him, and they go to look for Jurich, and he can't be reached for comment. I'm like, that was well played. I tip my hat to Papa.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Eric Crawford had a great article. I mean, he wasn't choosing sides in, Team Papa, Team Jurich, but he does have a lot of questions. I've had a lot of questions. Every Louisville fan will tell you that their basketball team is the most profitable in the country. They'll tell you that. The same way they can rattle off, their championship years and All-American and all that.
Right.
But why are they still taking money from the university? Right? Why are they not helping with the Yum Center debt? Those are questions that deserve answers, and Jurich is the man to answer it. Look, I've said for years, the Kentucky program, athletic program, they give money back to the university. They're operating in the black. U of L should be able to do the same thing. So, so Papa John is saying what a lot of people, and Kevin, a lot of even Louisville fans are saying, wait a minute, what is going on here? You're bringing this money in, but my taxes are going up for the Yum Center? What? People, they're still getting the $50 or $75, whatever it is, part of tuition from all the students. Why? That's what a lot of people are saying. Even Louisville fans are saying it. And there's this thing that Jurich is untouchable, and that's what infuriates a lot of folks. Now, I've dominated, and I do apologize, but I get a little heated about all this.
That's fine. While you're simmering down, let's let Vinny jump in. Vinny, speak up.
I mean, Terry is, hit the nail all over the head, when it comes to Louisville. And, with them saying they're the most profitable, I mean, no other university has all these kind of deals to get revenue in all these other alternative ways. If every other university was getting income this way, I mean, Louisville would have competition for being the most profitable. So, I mean, they stand out like that. with the Young Center situation, and Louisville getting money from every concert, circus, Harlem Globetrotters performance that comes through there, Monster Jam, this and that. I mean,
Monster Jam. Wow.
Hey man, when you got two little boys, you got an 8 and a 4-year-old boy, you go to some Monster Jam, they look good.
Nice.
If every school was set up with that, then I mean, they'd all be, Scrooge McDuck swimming in gold coins like Louisville is, but nobody else is like that. So, there's the reason they're uniquely profitable, because they're doing some uniquely different, quote unquote, things to get this money. It's weird, and it's a wonder it's taking as long for somebody to call them out. Like it seems to be the media just kind of quiet, and Papa John finally, somebody with some clout said something. I said, hey, I mean, wait a minute. I mean, it took a long time, but finally somebody publicly asked the question and called him out.
Well, hold up. That's the thing.
Hold on, Heather. Give me 10 seconds. The local Louisville media.
15. Should I give you 15 seconds?
15 seconds. Give me 15 seconds. I can nail it in 15 seconds. The local Louisville media tosses nothing but softballs at the Louisville athletic department. It's sad. It's really sad. But all right, I think I finished before 15, which I normally don't. But Heather, go ahead. You can have it.
You know what I like about Papa John is that the fact that he was willing to step up and say, hey, look, what is going on with the University of Louisville with the athletic program is not good for not only the area, but the university and the boosters. And of course, all of a sudden he resigns, right? Here's the thing, and I think this makes Tom Jurich look more of a tool bag than he already did, right? Is that the fact that you took a guy who literally stood up for you guys forever, and when he finally called you on the carpet, it's like, oh, he's not good enough. We're going to find a way to force him out. The last time that happened in a Division I college basketball program, it happened at UC. And I don't know how far or how long you guys have followed this, but there was a booster who pretty much forced out Bob Huggins out of UC. And that didn't do well for UC for at least the immediate onset. Mick Cronin's done his thing, so on and so forth for now, but it didn't boast well for UC. And if U of L isn't careful, not only is it not going to boast well for Rick Pitino, but it's also going to highlight, by the way, the fact that program consistently, doesn't know what the hell is going on with its players, supposedly, in quotation marks. But it's going to highlight that, that Tom Jurich is kind of a complete douchebag. I mean, I don't know what else to say. He's going to let whatever can happen under his watch go on, so on and so forth. That's great. However, when in this day and age, when you have people that are willing to come out and tell their story, their social media, so on and so forth, Tom Jurich might want to be careful, because what he's going to end up finding out is that he's not infallible and that he is going to end up on the losing end, and people are going to disrespect him more, and they're going to disrespect this university who proclaims love even more. That's just my opinion, though.
There you go. Heather Tungate giving us the closing it for the Tom Jurich. Sorry, we beat that horse. You know what? One last word with the program, Louisville program. They are, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. The NCAA, the ball's in their court now to give a final judgment or conclusion to Louisville's response to the latest thing or whatever.
If it's not, it's squirting to the ceiling. I'm out.
It's squirting. She's out. Yeah, the ceiling. God love her. Katrina. I gotta get Katina on this show. That would be so cool. I'm doing it. What could she be doing on a Sunday night, Heather? Right. I think I got it. I got this. No, I got this. She's going to be doing me on a Sunday night, and we're going to entertain that thought. All right, let's move past Louisville. All right. Dallas Cowboys, America's football team, my football team. Preach, yeah. They love them or hate them, which I kind of find myself doing both. But they've got a defensive end, Randy Gregory, who has failed a seventh drug test. A seventh drug test. And the story is that his career could be over now. I'm kind of I might be going out on a limb here, but anybody who has failed that many drugs tests, now granted, a lot of these have been because of marijuana, and marijuana has been the subject of conversation with the NFL, players commit, whatever union to back off on the whole marijuana thing. Let me start with the partners in crime. In this case, not me and you, Heather, Vinny and Terry. Vinny, when you hear something like Dallas's Randy Gregory failing a seventh drug test, which God love him, that he didn't take the first 6 serious. You got a guy who's failed 7, who clearly is not like in line with the rules here. But how much is it the player or the culture that is involved here? Because his drug tests, from what I understand, have been all, if not most, marijuana. It's, sometimes it's that proverbial saying, you can move out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out, that kind of whatever. But when it comes to the NFL and drug testing and marijuana, Vinny, what's your take on how you see these guys? How do you see players? Because marijuana, not only for the mind effects, it does have effects, it helps pain. So give us your marijuana 1.0 logic.
You say it's the player or the culture, and I have to lean player in this situation because, first of all, he's not in a lot of pain because he hasn't been playing. We already know this because he keeps getting suspended repeatedly and, 1-year bans and all this. When you talk about culture, if you're a Cowboys fan for any length of time, the culture back in the Aikman, Emmett, Irvin days, now if he was playing then, you could say culture, because the culture then, we remember Michael Irvin and all the dirt he's done and what everybody on that team was doing. They were winning, but the culture then was something else. So I'm not buying culture with Randy Gregory. The Cowboys can kind of be frustrating. Jerry Jones can get on your nerves. He's too hands-on, he's too meddlesome. He just needs to kind of sit down and sign the checks like football guys do football stuff. He's not going to do that because he hasn't, and he's just older and more stubborn now. So we know Jerry's not going to change. But, offensively, I'm not a big draft guy, but when you look at the Cowboys, how they're set up, offensively they are, they're fine. The best offensive line in the league. Dak Prescott came in and worked wonders. Dez Bryant, Jason Witten, Hall of Famer, Ezekiel Elliott. They actually got themselves set up for success. We saw the year they had last year. And defensively, if the players could play, they could kind of be in the same position. They drafted a Randy Gregory. When you lose a DeMarcus Ware to Denver, Randy Gregory's supposed to be the next, edge rusher, pass rushing guy. So you look like on paper you should be set. You don't really account for, maybe you could have accounted for it if you maybe check his pass. You don't account for him not being able to play hardly ever or getting suspended all the time. So if this is what the player, you don't have anybody else on the Cowboys with 7 failed drug tests. So he kind of stands alone. I'm going player all the way on this.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? I can't. Good Lord. Again, I'm a fan of the Bengals. Well, I was. But you know what? It's not even the smoke in a joint or whatever you want to do. That doesn't. It's weird. It doesn't even bother me. What bothers me are guys that consistently, find themselves in trouble not only on the field but off the field. And I'm talking about guys like Pac-Man Jones, for an example. This is a guy that can't seem to straighten himself out either way. And you know what? If and I hate to say it, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, but if a guy wants to smoke a joint to wind out his end of the day, so be it. It doesn't bother me. As long as it's not affecting, him not only hurting himself on the field, but hurting himself off the field or hurting anybody on the field or off the field. I don't know. It just doesn't bother me. But that's just my opinion. I guess, is that my hot take of the night? I mean, honestly, it doesn't, weak doesn't bother me. It's these guys that can't consistently be disciplined in other areas of their life that bother me. I don't know.
Guys?
Well, I think the NFL is kind of out of touch a little bit as you see more and more states legalizing marijuana. And then you have Roger Goodell get up, I think it was on Mike and Mike the other day, talking about really cracking down on marijuana, which is kind of, if it, like I said, the country's kind of warming up to legalizing it. It's hitting more and more states and what have you.
Right.
My whole thing about the marijuana is, of all the drugs, that seems the strangest one to have such a hard line on, because the NFL, these are the same folks that told us grown men running full speed into each other 80 times a game had no ill effects on the brain, right? So they haven't really taken brain safety as serious as they should, but marijuana they're going to tamp out. Now, that being said, if you know that's a rule to your job, and I know where I work, you have to get drug screened, and if you know that's a rule to your job that you can't do that, that's definitely, with Vinny, that falls on you. If you're not in a state where it's legal and you can't do that, again, for your job, and you can't refrain from that, that definitely falls on you. And that is definitely where I'm falling on that one.
I'm with you. And you would think after, in Dallas Cowboys Gregory failing a 7th drug test, he would have gotten the memo, the previous 6 memos. But clearly there's not a rhyme or reason, or he obviously doesn't have a care on, I don't know. It kind of blows me away. All right. Next shot, I thought was an interesting shot because I tied this into UK basketball, Duke basketball, and probably Kansas, to me, are the 3, maybe even North Carolina, are the 4 major players when it comes to the biggest stage of them all in college basketball. Ohio State loses a basketball recruit, Darius Bazley, who, as his words were, wants a bigger stage. Now, when you look at the article, there was actually a good article through USA Today where he had committed. I guess it was kind of early in his commitment. He committed. This is a 4-star player. He and then last season he committed prior to last season. Last season, Ohio State 17-15 season, no NCAA tournament, no NIT, and looking ahead to their recruiting, the recruits that are coming in this coming season for 2017-18. This kid, Darius Bazley, did not feel like the talent coming in was up to par. So he decommitted, reopened his commitment, and basically said that he felt his talents needed to be on a grander scale stage. And there's not too many stages, brands that you can, kind of go to. But clearly, I'll start with Heather here first. Heather, since you reside in the state of Ohio, it's a direct knock on the Ohio State program that this recruit took at Coach Fada and the upcoming recruits that are coming in for the 2017-18 season. He didn't see the immediate future being bright, and this kid clearly has aspirations of the NBA. So to Heather, from me to you, is this right? Fair, foul that this kid come out and decommit and acknowledge to the program, to Ohio State, he needs a bigger stage. You guys aren't big enough on him.
So, is this where other, college programs or other collegiate coaches on the D1 level criticize Calipari for being good at his craft? Honestly, at the end of the day, all these kids coming out of high school, going to college basketball, they want to go to the next level, which is the NBA. This is their next, career, so to speak. And if a kid feels like whatever program or whatever coach isn't going to get them there, then this is what happens, right? I mean, they're going to come out and criticize, hey, look, this is not what I want. This is what I'm looking for, but what I think will be a disservice to a kid like this is the fact that, again, that he's calling out a coach before. Where is he committed to? Where is he playing? So
he was, Ohio State.
So are coaches at a higher level above Ohio State, like a Kentucky or a Duke or North Carolina or a Kansas, are they going to look at that kid and say, he's not worth the trouble? Because even if I do recruit him or I do get him to come on board, is he going to be worth, hearing him run his mouth? Is he going to be worth, trying to get him to the next level? I think guys like, and this is again where I think Calipari is good. I think guys like Calipari would take him and not only shut him up, but they would make him put up. Now, a guy like Bill Self, they would make him shut up, but then they would bury him and they wouldn't give him any opportunity. So I don't know.
Bill Self, Cal, and Coach K. Based on what he's saying, as far as knocking the brand, the stage, and the incoming recruits, at least those three schools, Kentucky, Kansas, actually probably four, Duke and North Carolina, their rosters generally are pretty loaded, where the kid is not the best player on the team. He'll be playing against elite players probably better than him. And that's where I kind of get that's what he's wanting. He wants to be around top level players. He'll get better. The program will get better. He doesn't see that there. And, the knock is with Kentucky, in this case, this past year, we're losing 8-9 players. Those guys, of all the guys that we're losing, for the most part, from the 1 to 8, there was not a, those guys competed with each other. Those guys made each other better. There's kind of a difference here when that your program or your brand, the stage that you're on with these big schools, are going to offer you the, additional players that will help the program and help you be better. He didn't see this. It's not there. If you look at the numbers, that's, I could see where he's coming from. I'm looking at his options now. Vinny, Michigan, Florida, Maryland, Xavier, Purdue, Virginia Tech. I don't see them as, maybe Michigan and Florida, but the other schools, I don't see them as giving him a stage, if you will. He's also has had some conversations with Texas, Kansas, and Connecticut, which that could help his situation now. But this is a guy clearly, I think, should have probably done his homework and waited until later to commit. But here we are.
And I don't know if he's I agree with what Heather said. Also, if you're Thad Matta, you got to, regard. It's just another recruit, possibly to another coaching staff, or even Ohio State. We can go out and get another kid to fill this spot. But you'd be crazy if you don't evaluate yourself. And surely to goodness they have done that already after finishing 17-15 and missing the tournament. But it's got to kind of hurt your pride to hear kids say that about your program, being that he's from Cincinnati, an in-state kid. I hadn't heard this story until you sent the link, so it's going to be a topic on the show. On the other hand, I don't know the kid's makeup. Is he a diva? Every kid is confident, and they should be if they've, done well in high school and done well enough to earn themselves an offer from a D1 school, Ohio State there in the Big Ten. So you got to be confident to think you can succeed. Sure, you're going to take your lumps. I like what he says, where he says at the end of the day, I know I have to perform wherever I go. So at least he does have that realization. And as a Kentucky fan, we, based on results and tradition and history, can kind of be condescending when we look down on other schools that are inferior when it comes to tradition and history, kind of like Alabama fans in football. So as a Kentucky fan, I'm like, yeah, this kid is right. There are bigger stages than Ohio State, who just went 17-15 and missed the tournament. But I don't know if this kid is, Mr. Diva all about himself. I don't know how he is as far as how he treats coaches and all that. Is he going to be a problem? Reading this, I don't think so, but he could be a kid that coaches don't want to fool with, and we know how Cal is about kids that have character as well as being able to play. But, you know, that's a punch in the gut to Ohio State, and you definitely, if you had gotten maybe a little bit stagnant, a little bit complacent, this is something that will jolt you out of that. You think back to Greg Oden and those guys when they were at Ohio State. This kid was 7, 8 years old. So, he doesn't even really remember that. So Ohio State maybe isn't that big in his mind.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Good point. Okay. You're brightening my day. Let's next shot. Yeah. NBA. Have you guys been following the NBA playoffs?
Sort of.
Terry,
Yeah.
I'll start. Well, Heather, I'll jump in. Heather, have you been following, Heather?
Yeah, a little bit. You know what's weird about the NBA playoffs? I should care more because we have a lot of former Kentucky players that are clearly participating. But I usually don't hang on until the finals.
Wait a minute. Who are a lot?
We have a lot of players in the league. Maybe I should rephrase that. We have a lot of players in the league, but yeah, I don't pay attention to the NBA playoffs until the finals. I don't know. The NBA is my least favorite sport, a professional sport, honestly. Did I make a controversial statement? I just don't. Where do you want me to start on the NBA and why I don't like it? I mean, honestly, it is a league that, you know, as a person that played college, you know, that played basketball, and I just do not appreciate the lack of effort. I don't know, on both sides of the ball in the NBA. It always seems like it picks up in the finals or by the finals, so to speak. Yeah, you would think I would like the NBA, but I don't.
All right. Well, let me. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think Terry and
Kevin,
Vinny.
are you in a toilet? What is going on here?
Oh, my head. Yeah, my head.
There we go.
Yeah. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I think Terry and Vinny have paid more attention to the NBA than Kevin and Heather.
Probably.
So, Vinny, what's been your take so far with the NBA as we are doing this show on this Sunday night? Has games gone as planned to you? We're basically down to the final 4 teams, right?
It's going to be the final 8 here in the next, well, I think all the
final
series
8
are completed now. Down the final 8.
Okay.
The Cavaliers have moved on. They've looked a little shaky, but they were able to move on. The Pacers could have stolen a couple games, and they didn't. The Warriors are rolling. The Clippers did what the Clippers do, and I know Terry is jumping for joy with that. Utah took care of them in Game 7 today. So it's going to be Utah and Golden State. My Houston Rockets are going to be playing San Antonio Spurs. You can't help but be a little nervous whenever it's the Spurs because they've been there and done it so many times. But I'll be staying up way too late on tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Friday night because, you know, I'm watching my Rockets against San Antonio. Washington, I thought was going to beat Boston today. Boston came back and got that one. Isaiah Thomas getting Keith knocked out and the whole bit. So, yeah, I'm loving all the games. The Clippers just need to blow it up. Their window is over. You know, it's just not going to work with them constructed as they are at present. But I'm enjoying it. I always do. I go right from March Madness right into the NBA playoffs. Always do that every single year. Then I'll peep at my Braves while the playoffs are going on, but then I'll jump into baseball after the finals. But I'm loving it, and it's only going to get better as the rounds go on. You know, second round is going to be better than the first round, and so on and so forth, all the way to the finals.
If you say so. If you say so.
I know, Kevin, it's like we're NBA virgins, right?
No, I don't even. It's not virgins. It's just we have just zero interest in the NBA, and it doesn't matter that 20% of the league is former UK players. It just this NBA thing does nothing for me. Zero.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So I'd actually at this point I would want to incorporate the last 2 laps of the last NASCAR race instead of the NBA finals. But no, I'm joking. I don't like NASCAR either.
Oh, and with Dale Jr. leaving, nobody's going. Who's gonna watch it when he's gone? That's the last big name.
Not me. I didn't watch it with him or without him. No, and soccer.
But you know what?
Soccer's another no-no. Soccer's
a no-no.
Did you just say
soccer's a no-no? Oh,
soccer's
boyfriend.
a no-no. Soccer's
Hold
a no-no.
on.
Hockey's a no-no. NASCAR's a no-no. Golf's a no-no. The Olympics is a no-no.
What do you say yes to?
What?
Me. He says yes to me.
Oh.
No. You know what's interesting? Hey, you know what's interesting about when it comes to Kevin? What were you gonna say?
What? Well,
I felt like
I don't.
You had something there. When it comes to NASCAR and even golf, for an example, you have. I think these two sports are going through growing pains, right? So you had Jeff Gordon, who retired a season or 2 ago. Dale Earnhardt Jr. that's retiring. Who do they have left?
Tony Stewart retired.
When he's not killing somebody? I mean, I don't know. But sorry, I'm out. But
Danica Patrick.
Again, really?
Yes,
Other than
really.
she's got a 9 rack and she's kind of decent looking. I mean, what has she done for the sport?
She doesn't finish last. She does not finish last in every race she's in, which means dudes are finishing after her. That's all I got to say. This is not a male-dominated event. She finishes more ahead of many guys than. Those guys that finish after her are not sleeping for the next 2 to 3 weeks because of the fact that they finish behind Danica Patrick.
But honestly, if you're going to break down the way that, wait, hold up. If you're going to break down the way that she drives on a track, really?
Just saying.
And I'm a woman. Really?
I'm going by the end of the race, the positions, who finishes where. Males, there are males looking in her rearview mirror as she crosses before them.
Yeah. Well, if Patino looked at people, where they finished, he would always be in last place too. So at any rate, sorry, I'm out. I am so out of control. But no, I mean, honestly, if you're talking about NASCAR and golf, right? The PGA Tour and NASCAR, they have lost their premier, name, money, drawing people, right?
Are you
Tiger
talking about
Woods isn't
Tiger? Tiger has been on the shelf for years now.
He's been on, you know what? And honestly, I'm not saying he doesn't have a back issue at all, but if anybody that has played golf knows that 90% of that sport is mental. And since his ex-wife and him had their falling out, to be diplomatic,
he
it's
cheated
not,
on her.
His head has not been in the game. His top head, not his lower head. His top head has not been in the game. But at the end of the day, it's weird. I kind of feel like, golf and NASCAR are in this weird transitional period. Do they have people that are going to step up and be the premier guys or the money guys for their respective sport? I don't really see it, because if you look at the PGA Tour, you have Jordan Spieth, Justin Johnson, Brady McIlroy, Phil Mickelson is pretty much, I mean, he's good, obviously, but he's kind of on that, the end of his career. Do you have a guy in the PGA Tour that's going to do what Tiger did? I don't, right now, you don't have that talent.
Heather.
It's the same way with, It's the same way with NASCAR. You don't,
Heather,
look,
at any time as the producer of this show put together topics that said NASCAR, golf, or...
Never. But you didn't.
Soccer.
Hold up. I am not, don't dog soccer. My twin daughters play soccer. Damn it.
Kids can play soccer, but once you get to that level where you go watch the professionals play soccer and the final score ends in 0-0, who in the hell wants to go watch 90 minutes of that stuff?
No. Hold up. In professional soccer, it doesn't end 0-0. There's always a shootout. So Again, though, I'm talking about Kevin.
After
the growth of these sports, when it comes to PGA Tour and NASCAR, they've lost their big names, their money drawers. I'm curious to see how these two sports move on, because I think that's going to be hard for them, because there's nobody that's ready to step up and take the reins like Tiger Woods did, or a Jeff Gordon, or a Dale Earnhardt Jr. I don't see anybody.
I do.
Who?
Hulk Hogan. Because this whole wrestling and racing interaction, you can bring Hulk Hogan in and be in the same crowd that cheers on Hulk Hogan are the ones cheering on NASCAR. I guarantee you.
I quit wrestling. The Undertaker retired. I quit wrestling.
I'm just saying.
Not really.
Heather,
I'm watching Payback right
not
now.
really. Exactly. All right. I'm not even sure where the fuck we are right now with our. All right. Here's one I'm gonna throw at you. One of our last ones, and we are getting close to shutting down because the chick with the chick thing, it needs to shut it down by midnight. Nike, Under Armour, Adidas all said they were not interested to deal with Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball had this notion, guys, that he was going to put together his own brand and work with the big shoe schools and turn it into a, if you will, maybe a partnering up with the Nikes and the Under Armour and Adidas. It didn't work out. So back to the drawing board for LeVar Burton, who's in the process of also getting the coach of his high school team, his son's team, fired. This guy, is it safe to say, Vinny, this guy in the college basketball scene, as we're heading from college basketball to the NBA, is this guy the most either powerful or disruptive guy we've seen in a while?
Oh, just disruptive. I mean, he had his little 15 minutes of fame. Well, maybe his first dose of fame with Lonzo at UCLA, and everybody was at first saying, he's just all about supporting his kids. He's all about promoting his kids, and then that may be his intention, but how could you not see it ending this way? When you just don't know when to quit. All these off-the-wall things he was saying, a big distraction, and that's what eventually it's going to ruin stuff for the kids. He may have Lonzo's and the LaMelo and the other one's best interest at heart, but he's going about it all wrong, so it ends up being a disruption.
Mm-hmm. Terry?
Oh, I agree. I think it's kind of a straw man argument to say, well, wouldn't you support your kids? I support my kids and everything, but I'm not going to be ridiculous about it. I think, those of us with kids, you want your kids to do well, but you should know that antagonizing coaches and becoming the story doesn't necessarily help your kids.
No, it doesn't. The thing that bothers me about LeVar Ball is that, and I even see this, and Terry, you will with your girls, and Kevin and Vinny, you guys may have experienced this, so on and so forth. Parents always live vicariously through their kids. And unfortunately, we're in a day and age where there is a tremendous amount of pressure on our youth to succeed, not only on the academic level, which, let's be honest, the majority of Americans can't afford to send their kids to college right now, but on the athletic level. And at the end of the day, what ends up happening is that you have parents who will push their kids, at least on the athletic side, to just, unrealistic expectations. And I'm not saying kids can't exceed or kids can't do what they want to do or get an athletic scholarship. It's just to the point where it becomes a little bit annoying. And in the case of LeVar Ball, you have a guy that kind of went above and beyond looking out for his kids. You had a guy that was looking out, I think, more for himself. And that's going to end up costing, it's kind of like in high school. And, at the youth level, especially in my area right now, we tell parents, hey, you think your kid is the best at X, Y, and Z sport right now, but when he gets to high school, this 3-page letter complaint or this saying that, my kid's not getting a fair shake, when you get to high school, that's going to stop, because they're either going to be riding the pine or they're not going to make the team period. And the case of, Lorenzo Ball, what's going to end up happening is he may make a team, maybe, or teams aren't going to want to deal with him, or in this case, sponsors aren't going to want to deal with him. And why would you, as a parent, want to be detrimental to your kid's future? And it's really aggravating to me, because, again, you know what? You have a kid that's athletic, that could be, earn potentially millions of dollars, but you're going to screw it all up because you can't stop running your mouth, and you can't stop, thinking that what you say is the best for him. Let your kid do his own thing. Let him go out and do what he can do. And in the case of Lonzo Ball, I mean, again, the kid is athletic. He doesn't need his dad's help. He can beat his own course. He can do his own course. But unfortunately, he's got a dad that wants to be way too involved, especially for a young adult. And I think it's really unfortunate.
I tweeted out the other day, thanks to LeVar, Lonzo's got to go and knock the dust off some Chuck Taylors before he can even play next year. Because, shoot, people want to fool. They don't want to, sign Lonzo because of LeVar. So,
exactly.
That tells him all he needs to know right there. And he's talking about $1 billion brand, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He ain't doing nothing. And he's the reason. So if he realizes it, it'll get better. If not, it's going to end badly for the whole family.
And honestly, I don't think anybody can say it better than that. And this goes back even to the youth level. Parents just cannot sit back and let their kid enjoy what they're doing and be successful at what they're doing. And in this case, again, Lonzo Ball is good at basketball. I just wish his dad could set aside the ego and let his kid do what he wants to do. I mean, the kid can earn money. He clearly can earn money, and he is going to be successful, but his dad needs to take a back seat and let his son kind of move forward and do his own thing.
And because his kids are going to be public enemy number one wherever they go, just because of dad.
Yeah, and it's his dad's fault.
Yeah, and his dad's fault. Okay, as we're wrapping up here, what we'd like to do, shot of the night, I'm going to start with Terry. Terry, share with us something that has been on your mind, sports-wise, that you'd like to get out and discuss, and go from there.
Just this past week, just a special shout out to Serena Williams and just what she has been able to accomplish. I kind of started this, I think we talked about it a little bit on Wednesday, Vinny. She's moved away from best female tennis player. I think you now have to put her best tennis player ever, and she's moving up that list of all-time athletes. Because, I mean, keep in mind, she is still out just crushing opponents. Mm-hmm. She hasn't hit that stage of her career where she, kind of gutting out a few more wins. We've seen like the Jimmy Connors and the Pete Sampras get one or two more titles. I mean, she's got to run. She can get 6 or 7 more, and then at that point, you have to crown her. What she has done at an advanced age in a sport that doesn't particularly bode well for older folks, she's just been remarkable. So definitely have to tip your hat to her as she's kind of doing things we have never seen before.
All right. Vinny?
I'm going to, piggyback or extend the topic that you said that you're going to hit on the show and just go ahead and roll with that, because it was on my mind anyway. Y'all don't care about the NBA, but I'm a huge Houston Rockets fan. And topic, I'm going to give a shout to the owner of the Houston Rockets, Les Alexander, because he did get up right in the middle of the play. In Game 5, as the Rockets were playing the Thunder in the first round, and berate an official, and because he didn't agree with a couple calls, he stood up and got out of his seat and walked a few paces to court and said his piece with the game going on. Now, Mr. Alexander is up in years. When you think of owners of teams, and I'll probably touch on this in our show Wednesday as well, some owners are well known, some aren't. Jerry Jones, everybody knows who he is. Big personality owners are known. in the NBA, Mark Cuban is well known because, he's young and he's always getting with commissioners and this. Nobody outside of Houston or Houston Rockets fans even knew who Les Alexander was before he got up and walked and talked to that official the other day. So he earned himself $100 fine for his efforts. Right. So it's 0.0000002% of what his net worth really is. So he's gonna drop $100,000 for doing that. But I'm a Rockets fan. I thought it was funny. He shouldn't have done it, but it was hilarious. And that was just a cool little boss move from Mr. Les Alexander.
Very
cool. Heather, you?
Carrie stole mine. So the one thing I want to add to Serena Williams is that she won the Australian Open 8 weeks pregnant. When I was pregnant with Christopher at 8 weeks, I felt like I had one too many burritos. When I was 8 weeks pregnant with my twin daughters, I was puking my guts out. So the fact that this woman was able to go out and perform at a high level and win a major in her respective sport, she is the queen. And if anybody tells you that Serena Williams isn't the best athlete, or from a female perspective or in her sport, they are high on a lot more than just weak. But I mean, she honestly, I have seen her play in person before. I have never seen a more athletic person. I don't care, men, women, period. She's just phenomenal to watch in person. And the fact that she won a major pregnant, I love her.
Wait a minute. At 8 months,
I want to kiss her feet. I literally want to kiss her feet. Like, she was 8 weeks pregnant.
You're really
and she
saying
won the Australian Open. Seriously,
and she was 8 months pregnant. Wait a minute. She was 8 months.
8 weeks.
8 weeks. Oh, I was gonna say. I thought you said 8 months, and I'm like, are you
8 weeks.
Out of your mind?
Look, as a woman who's been pregnant twice in her life, once with my son, and then once with twin daughters. Your hormones at 8 weeks are going crazy. She won a major tennis title 8 weeks pregnant. Bow down, my queen. Seriously, I want to kiss her feet.
Didn't drop a set.
She is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if she is not the best female athlete ever, like in any sport or any sport, period. Who else? Seriously, she is awesome. I love her. And if anybody wants to dispute that, come at me. I got something for you.
All right. Great.
Wow.
Here
we are.
She's the queen. I mean, mic drop. Seriously, she is the queen.
I tell you what, we're gonna incorporate. I got an idea here, Heather. Let's incorporate our show with Cats Talk Wednesday show. So, Vinny, Terry, how do you all go about ending your all show? Because you get to end our show that way.
We
and if it's just by pressing the button?
Yeah. We don't have a great finish. It's usually after Vinny's listened to me ramble for the better part of 2 hours. That's when we decide to end the show. When my rambling is done and I take a breath. That's usually when it ends.
Yeah, as soon as the breath
I thank the guests. I thank the guests, and I always thank TB for coming on every week and doing what he does, bringing what he brings to the show. And then I'll play another Malice and Mario Sweet song on the way out. I'm just going to pick a random one at the end.
To play out, yeah.
Just kind of fade out, yeah. Terry usually hangs up before I do that, but it's all right.
That's all good. All right. We'll figure this out. Heather, it was a pleasure to have the Cats Talk Wednesday guys with us on this segment. We're staying with the Cameron Mills radio crew, which is not a bad thing. Good stuff tonight. Props to Justin Rowland for coming on the first segment, giving us all the recruiting info. And then this last segment, round of sport shots. Trending locally, nationally, these guys came in and killed it. Heather, any parting words before we shut it down?
No. Long live the queen, Serena Williams. She's my girl.
Cool.
Nobody's going to talk me out of that. She's my girl.
And then I'll give you the king. Long live the king. the king, Kevin Hale, who celebrated his 50th birthday on April 23rd. Birthday celebration number 2 is happening Sunday after Derby at Captain's Quarters. It's the year of the 50, the 50 for Kevin, for me. So those who are in town and around that can come down to wherever I'm at next Sunday after Derby, Captain's Quarters. Terry, I know you're in town. You might get nudged a little bit to make an appearance there. But yeah, the 50th anniversary tour continues for the birthday.
You 50 for real?
For real. Yes. For real.
You making 50 look at this? I mean, I never met you. I just see the profile picture on Facebook. That's, you making 50 look pretty young. That's promising for me, then. Yeah,
well, I would hopefully we can get all our brothers and sisters together one night and hang out and talk sports, and have a good time. But yeah, Terry, I'm gonna press you more because you are here in Louisville, so it would be,
That's right. I'm right here.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys, share with us your all social media. Where can everyone find your show and your Twitter and such? Somebody.
Well, you can, of course, you can of course follow the show at Cat Talk Wednesday. That's Cat Talk WED. All the show information is there. I've got my personal Twitter account at tbrown_80. And we also are on Facebook. You can search Cat Talk Wednesday on Facebook. As you said, kind of throughout, we do have a lot of, Vinny and I write a lot for Cameron Mills, so there's a lot of content there as well.
For the record, Terry.
Vinny Hardy. Oh, I was just going to play mine with that. My personal was at Vinny Hardy, Vinny with a Y. And TV, we got to do the YouTube stuff. We're talking about a YouTube channel and all the other stuff that we haven't ventured out into yet. But we'll try to add that and get the show out on those avenues as well.
And I would be happy to help assist those. And by the way, Terry, you need to follow us back on the Shooting from the Lip Twitter. Just saying, not to call you out in front of the millions millions. You didn't.
TB's big time, though. TB's big time.
You might have responded back. You might have followed me or Heather individually, but you didn't follow the show. It's all good.
He's one of those people that he got more followers than actually follow him. He's one of those big time type people. And he's got a lot of celebrities that follow him, and so
his fan club. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, man. You got NBA players and legendary comedians following him, so that's how it is with TV.
Heather, are you still there?
Yes.
Heather. Yes. Been a trooper.
So I'm at Heather Tungate 7 on Twitter. Heather_Tungate on Snapchat, which I rarely use. I have been filling in on at Big Blue Views on Monday nights for Kristen York. And next Friday, I am actually going to be doing another kind of guest segment on a podcast. The guy I went to high school with does a podcast called Kentucky Hot Brown Boys. I'm going to guest star, kind of talk to them about who knows what. Because again, I grew up in the mean streets of Independence, Kentucky. A lot of the kids my age were boys. It was either porn or ESPN. So it's going to be no holds bar next Friday night.
Nice. Very nice. Porn or ESPN and wrestling, maybe? Was it wrestling too?
Yeah, they, you guys might remember this. The big satellite dishes in the late 90s that everyone had in their yard if you were, have a satellite dish. All the boys my age in my neighborhood in the mean streets of Independence, Kentucky, either watch ESPN or the Playboy channel.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they went to watch the Playboy channel, it was like, hey, Heather, get out, right? So that's my love of sports, and that's my love of W. Does Dallas. So it is what it is.
Heather,
on that note,
on that note, we'll talk porn gimmicks at a later show.